Hey folks, a couple of weeks I did a video asking for some feedback. It was entitled Guitar Reviews from Positions of Privilege. And I asked you to weigh in with your views in the comments below the video. And I just thought some of them were really interesting, so I thought I'd read a few out. Some of them disagree with what I was talking about. Some agree. Captain Rebel says, terrible choice of words for a title. You confuse success with so-called popular, newly made-up word meaning, like the beaten-to-death word privilege. Looking back at the big boys' first years on YouTube, one would easily hear in their voices and see in their presentations the entrepreneurial hunger for success that we rarely see or hear today from them, because they have in fact, quote, made it. Like it or not, that's human nature. Braun, I guess he means Daryl Braun, is very good as a musician and business person, but he seems to be losing just a little bit of interest in the whole thing of late. It's true. If true, it's none of my business. McKnight, that's Phil McKnight, has indeed become somewhat snobbish about what he'll review. For example, I recently heard him say a particular guitar stand was the only type he would use. I looked it up. The stand cost more than most of my guitars. Other presenters were well off right from the jump with family business, emotional ties, etc. But being born lucky is just as uncontrollable as being poor. I guess he's responding to still the privilege aspect of my comments. You do a really job with what you do. I really like and respect your work, but you are in what has become an extremely competitive business, so buck up. Do what you do now and learn about those areas of the business that you know or discover that you will eventually need personally to sharpen up. That's a bit of a garbled sentence, but I think I get his meaning. So yes, there's a little bit of off-tuned sour grape sound to it all. Those looking for pure, absolute balanced fairness in the world need to find another planet. The real world never was that way and never will be. Still, I hear what you're saying, and while I do not agree with some of it, some of what you say is definitely true. That's an interesting comment. I did respond to it and said he was the only person that found fault out of quite a few reviewers to find fault with the language I use, particularly the word privilege, which I don't know if it's beat to death, is it? And I told him I always stand by the words I choose. I've never thought for 1 minute that YouTube is any sort of meritocracy, but I did enjoy the less preachy and sanctimonious parts of your comment. A bit snitty for me, but that's okay. So that was one that sort of quibbled a little bit with some of the stuff I said. John Pittman says honesty depends on the individual. There's a problem with unconscious bias. That's why those who broadcast need to state that they received something from a company. I agree with you that one should be careful with reviews. I try to avoid this by watching you and others who buy and those who are promoting from a position of privilege. One point is that those who bought the guitar are too critical and don't have enough samples to be fair because of their perceived loss. This is a good point, actually. I myself do give a slight weight increase to someone like you. I do not because I distrust those. I do this not because I distrust those privileged reviews, but because I know myself that others are more affected when it is a poor buy. Yeah, this is a good point, that maybe those who buy guitars to review are going to be even more critical because it's costing them money. Really good comment there. It goes on further. A really good comment there from John. Doug H. in VA watches my content a lot and always comments. Big up to you, Doug. Doug, I really appreciate your involvement. Commercial messages are commercials to sell product. Reviews actually using a guitar is more valuable to me. So yeah, he's talking about the commercial aspect of many reviewers, how they seem to be little infomercials rather than any sort of subjective discussion about the guitar in question. TJ4G says, I tend to believe reviewers that are paid for gear uh, that have paid for their gear. How can you be completely unbiased otherwise? Which was kind of my leading question in that video. Love Handle says, valid point. The larger YouTubers have no skin in the game and seem to be more forgiving of shortcomings of the instruments they review. I think you can go either way, and I pointed this out to Love Handle R. It's his name, her name. Sometimes when you have no skin in the game, you can be more forgiving, but you can also be more harsh as well, as some of them tend to be. Greg Mock, who comments a lot on my videos. Great to have your involvement, Greg. I think giveaway videos cram these guys' channels with subscribers. You get enough subscribers and guitar marketing companies will start sending their gear to you as a YouTuber. I like Landon Bailey's guitar build videos, and when he got enough subscribers, Sweetwater started giving him some guitars. He started small, but it was the giveaways that made marketers perk up. He still buys guitars to showcase and no longer does giveaways, but I watched him build a substantial audience, and I think that's how he got there. Yeah, I don't know this specific example, but I will check it out. I've seen a few YouTubers do this, get free guitars from companies and then use them as giveaways on their channel to sort of drive their numbers. I think Phil McKnight's done that, and I think there are a couple of others that have done that as well. If you can afford to work for free and give away your guitars, that's great. That's fantastic that people can do that. And maybe they're making enough revenue to be able to give that away, to give those away. Others may need to sell those guitars to cover costs or just their time for doing a review. When somebody sends you a guitar for a review, it's essentially a form of payment. So what you do with that, whether sell it on or give it away, is sort of up to you. But it is, you've earned that piece of gear, particularly with cheap guitars. Sometimes I've made this comment before. I've only received a couple of guitars for review, but a couple of them were so cheap, they weren't really worth my time. At least the time I invested in doing the review. And I do a lot of research on guitars. Paul Price says, I watch you, Darryl Braun, and Guitar Max. That puts me in great company. Thank you, Paul. I find all three of you honest. I don't waste time with other reviewers except to hear how the instrument sounds, especially those reviewers who always hate affordable gear. Yeah, there are some that seem to take a pre-announced position, a pre-bias, if you like. And it's hard to really watch their videos because you know which way they're going to go. However, some cheap gear is really bad. So they're not always wrong. But if you have that as your default position, it's not a very honest position to start with. John Welch, who also comments a lot on my videos. Thanks again to John. I agree with some points. The main one I would offer is everyone has motivation, so recognition is essential to reach the speech and body language for what a presenter thinks of the merchandise and the limits their motivation require. One might say that buy and resell have great vulnerability if they truly dislike something and say so before selling. You have been honest, and I applaud. Well, thank you. Yeah, he makes an interesting point about the language of the presenter that they use. I find that some presenters almost just go off of the specs, and others create their own impressions and sort of put it in their own language. Who else we got? GD Stout. I agree with you. As a retiree on a limited income, I can only dream of guitars over $1,000, and I put more credence in those who have to save to spend their own money. After a while, it becomes so to them, I would think, and easy come, easy go. So what he's saying is he really likes the people he knows made the sacrifice to buy a guitar, rather than those who are just receiving lots of guitars for free. He goes on to say, I don't know how these guitars are handled as far as cost goes, but it's like advertising with people who are already rich actors. What's the point? If it's free, it's easy to make the review more positive than not. I won't point fingers, but it's like a lot of YouTube business nowadays. They tend to get into the need for dramatics, and some become no more than soap operas. Yeah, you're right. Keep up the way you're doing it. And if a company wants to send me a guitar, I sure won't turn it down, but I will give it an honest look for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think being honest is the key. And of course, it's all subjective, so people's forms of honesty are going to differ. But yeah, I think even if you get a free guitar for review, I think you have to be honest about that guitar. If it has problems, you have to point them out. And as I've said before, I pointed out some issues with the guitar company, and they don't contact me anymore. So it probably cost me, but that's the way I'm going to be. Yeah, another one from John Welch there, basically building on what he'd already said. Bruce Abbott, and somebody I see often in the comments. Great to have you. Again, I'd like to do live streams in the future and get to know some of these people. He says, hi Daniel, I see these as advertisements from the manufacturer as they are intended. I watch a few of those you mentioned to see what they have to say, mainly because, as you mentioned, their skill as a musician or a luthier, but I don't view that as the final word. I also watch videos by those who pay to get a well-rounded perspective. I don't think that anyone's view is complete. I don't watch those who gush despite the quality of the instrument, or those who refuse to consider affordable gear. This is a really good comment from Bruce. He says that one sample review doesn't give you the full picture. If you're really interested in a guitar, you should watch several reviews and get sort of an aggregate review of a few people. That's a great point. You should do that. And somebody has their own guitar channel. I always advise people who watch this to go watch others as well. Don't just take my word for it. And then he talks about the extremes. He doesn't watch people who gush over everything. I think we can all think of examples of those types of YouTubers, or those who refuse to consider any affordable gear. The cork sniffers, the guitar snobs, who think only 3 companies are viable and everybody else is just Chinese garbage. Their words, not mine. What's this? Richiel guitar. I agree with you wholeheartedly. I watch the other channels you mentioned, the big guys, shall we say, but I also watch your reviews. And I do sense your reviews are honest and straightforward. I have a small YouTube channel myself. Cool, I am going to check that out. And I had some reviews on it. And he bought the guitar with his money. He's a struggling musician, so he just wanted to align himself with the majority of YouTubers that fund their own research. Matthew Steele says, Sturley says, I agree with you. I ask you a question. Most of the ones you mention are like a clique of elitist people. Yeah, you're right. I think sometimes some of these bigger, more successful channels come across as sort of a clique or a clique. Maybe they don't intend to, but sometimes it becomes sort of an elitist group. David, no other names, says, I only recently came across your channel. Welcome, David. Possibly because of the algorithm. Yeah, I've still not mastered that, David. I'm still trying to find out how to get my stuff out there. You do have a budget for appreciation for budget-friendly guitars, amps, pedals, and the like. And I'm sitting here surrounded in a room of such items, including some of the ones that you've reviewed. That's great. I think there's a lot of us who a lot of people in the chat are the same way. I mean, a lot of the brands that I talk about, you've already got them in your living rooms, or you're already checking them out at the same time that I am. Sometimes we tip each other off, but we're sort of all on the same journey, so to speak. Fabian Ugbechi says, permit that I say God bless you. Thank you. You're one of the few who have made a sincere video comment on guitar reviews. I play a Takamine GN 30 CE piano black, which was a lot of hard-earned money. I had to agree to it with my wife before buying, because we have family commitments. Yeah, this is a very good comment. You know, not everybody can be casual about guitar purchases. For some people, it is not just a sacrifice, but you're taking away from your family budget and your other needs. So that guitar that you buy means a lot to you, because cost you comfort elsewhere in your budget to acquire it. So he's just letting me know that he appreciates honesty, because it hurts to spend money on these things. Basement Guitar Superstar, great name, says, amen, dude. I have had these very same thoughts on numerous occasions. I guess my thoughts on it are that some brands sell themselves regardless of who does the videos for them. So why should a huge company with tons of reach already pay a ton of money for a huge channel to review them, when guys like us would be able to do it for cheap or free, just to have an opportunity to grow the channel and get more exposure? I'm not complaining. It would just be nice if the big manufacturers threw small channels like ours a bone every once in a while. But I get it, laws of numbers. That being said, I do have a small builder that will give me a good discount if I do reviews for them. I won't read what he said, because it involves a euphemism I might get in trouble for. But yeah, I get what you're saying here. This is another great point. You'd like to see companies take a chance on some of the smaller channels and not just play the populist game. Okay, why should we send them all to the same 6-7 huge channels? Why not get some of the smaller people involved, the more honest, the more working class channels, if you like. That's a great point. I think there are some smaller working class channels that are getting them as well, or starting to. Maybe not as many, but there are probably some examples. John B., somebody else I see once in a while in their comments. I think the large channels have built a trust with their subs to give an honest opinion about the gear they're reviewing. That's how they become large channels. That's a good point. Maybe they look privileged because they're good at what they do. They've become polished and professional. Hopefully in a couple of years, when your channel grows and companies are sending you gear, you can look back to this video and answer your own question. But for me, it doesn't matter whether they buy, borrow, or receive for free, as long as their reviews are honest. I watch guys who buy gear, guys who borrow from local stores, and guys who receive gear for free. That's a fair point. Yeah, I'm not trying to create the argument that all the people that fund their own channels with their own purchases are naturally better and more honest reviewers than those who don't. The world is not that black and white, and John is right to point that out. I disagree that large channels get where they are because they're good at what they do. I think there's a lot more factors that go into it. I think some of the large channels have earned the respect they get in terms of the work they do with the actual instruments. And I think others are popular for other reasons. Maybe it's personality, maybe it's style of presentation, or their particular brands, or maybe even just the opinions that they subscribe to. I think there are many reasons for popularity, but I do take your main point. Galen Gallardo says, thanks for doing reviews. I watch all the time. I like that you do a lot of reviews of eBay, Amazon, and other stuff that other sites don't review. He says, I'm guilty of watching all the unboxing and learn a lick videos. It does make me wonder how anyone thinks it's a living. I think people will watch you regardless of the big shots. Honest, pure reaction to guitars is what we want. Everybody seems to do that. I'm looking at you as a budget guitar guy like myself, and the other guys might be just making some moolah doing high-end guitars. More power to them. Yeah, another interesting point. You're right. I do think there are a lot of channels reviewing guitars that are budget guitars that are sold on eBay and Amazon. I don't think I'm anywhere near the only one. I can think of 4, 5, 6 bigger channels than me that do it. However, some of the really big channels tend to stay with the top brands and don't really look at mail order companies or budget brands. So yeah, I think you're right in that regard. Honest reaction is what we want, he says. Nothing else really matters. Some people do it for passion, some people do it to, as this commenter said, make moolah. I'm not sure if doing high-end guitars equates to better monetization for the channel, though. I think there are some guys doing budget. I think a lot of guys doing on the Firefly, iWave Express, making decent monetization with their channels. Quite a few of them bigger than mine. However, yes, I think you're always going to draw probably more people if you're reviewing high-end Martins and Fenders and Gibsons. So these are all good distinctions. Dennis Dvornik says the reviewers who receive guitars without paying most often do a professional job. Their reviews are very helpful. I also like seeing regular videos, so I get a rhythm of their style and language. Yeah, this is a good point too. Yeah, maybe you watch someone like Phil McKnight or Guitar Max or Daryl Braun or fill in the blank with anyone because you like their particular style or you like the order in which they do a review. I know some of these guys are really good at sort of following a template. First of all, they do a jam with the guitar, and then they talk about the specs, and then they do a breakdown of the different parts, and some of them then get inside the guitar and show you the guts and give you an analysis of the electronics of the guitar. Some of them even test certain components, and of course if you like that, if that's what appeals to you, then you're going to go back to that review. I get that. That makes perfect sense to me. Some of these guys are very, very professional. They almost look trained as far as the way they present on camera, and can read cue cards and stuff like that. And other guys are very whimsical, very amateur in a good way, and sometimes you might find that better for someone's just talking off the cuff about their experience rather than barking a bunch of specs that you can get online to the camera. So it kind of works both ways, and both styles will appeal to different people. Cody Buffett, another one who comments a lot, says I actually come to you and others on this channel look for reviews for people who work and repair instruments. This is an important distinction. Thanks for making it, Cody. I don't do my repairs on camera, but I do all my own repair and setup work, and I try to talk about it as much as I can in concert with my reviews of particular instruments. I've been asked to do more stuff on camera, and I'm planning to do that. I'm a bit in transition at the moment, and hope to secure. I'll have more news on this in future videos. I hope to secure a more permanent place and maybe set up a proper workshop and start offering some repair and setup videos as well. I'm not sure why, looking past all the flash, hype and gimmickry stunts, it's nice to see someone normal who works 9 to 5 like me do a review. Again, we're getting to this working class ethos. Yeah, I like it too. One reason why I like Randy's channel, Randy Sharding, or most of the repair, Ted Woodford, all the repair guys, is these are working men who have their hands inside a sound hole all day, so to speak, and they see many guitars come across their bench, and when they make an assessment about something, I find it valuable, because they see so many samples, they see so many different styles and qualities of instruments. So I really rate whatever judgment call they're going to make. I really love luthier channels. They're probably my favorite of all the guitar channels, but I also like the guitar channels who they're done by good players. Some are better than others. There are some guys that do guitar channels that play really well and can demonstrate instruments really well. Sometimes it gets a bit repetitive. You hear the same jams and runs and hooks over and over again, and that gets a little bit old. It's hard to find a reviewer that can play lots of different styles and vary up the playing samples to be different each time. The people that can do that very are ahead of the game in my view. There's some great players, but they kind of do the same thing all the time. And then there are some not so great players who are a bit more creative in what they do with demonstrating guitar. So again, it's all very subjective and all over the map in that regard. But yes, I do like the working class aspect. And it's not that I don't like the guys that have access to a whole shop of guitars and can play anything they like. I often watch their videos and I often find value in their videos, and they also see a lot of instruments and can make some interesting comparative comments. So yeah, I think what I've got from all these comments from this video, and I just read a good sample of them, not all of them, is that this is an aggregate thing. There's no real favorites here. There's no real one approach. There's no real 1, 2, 3 channels that we're interested in getting many samples of reviews on any given thing, and we can put that together and make our own informed decisions on things, which is absolutely great. And everybody made great points, even the ones I don't fully agree with. And I really appreciate this sort of response. And I'm hoping this sort of response that we saw in this video can be the bedrock for future live streams where we can really do this in real time. So hang on for that. It's coming. I am being cautious in working up to that point, but when it comes, I think it'll be worth it. And all the people that hang around and comment and are our presence on this channel, I really appreciate you, and I hope that you stick around and can be part of that in the future. Hopefully we can do guests and conversations and things like that as well. And those of you who are new and just popping in and just discovering, it's great to have you on board as well. So thanks for everybody for commenting on this. We'll do another one with another subject pretty soon. If you would like to suggest subjects as well, I'm always open. I do keep a list, so feel free to let me know what you would like to hear discussed on this channel. All right, folks. See you on the next video.